It shouldn't be hard for any fair observer to understand that the nations of the developed world find themselves in the midst of a democratic crisis. A series of events involving both elections and wars have led many serious commentators to question both the meaning and legitimacy of our democratic practices. The notion of democracy, as famously articulated by Abraham Lincoln, a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, once felt clear and undeniable. But today, we must ask a truly existential question. We speak of "we the people," but who exactly are the people we're referring to? Is our democracy the same as it was centuries ago, when only white, propertied males held the status of citizens? Because of the diversity of real populations, democratic nations aligned around the convenient but not fully representative idea of majority rule. If its leaders are approved by at least 50% of the population, we can comfortably assume, at the very least, that social peace will be the norm. This kind of reasoning in the 19th century gave rise to the institutionalizing of a two-party system. In the United States, this system, susceptible at times to a simplistic form of binary logic, became a structural feature of the political landscape. Third parties exist, but are routinely marginalized, treated as mere annoyances rather than legitimate alternatives. Yet recent years have seen the principle of majority rule shaken, instilling doubt about how the system works and for whose advantage it has been designed. Presidents elected without a majority of the popular vote, the rise of alternate facts, and allegations of stolen elections stand as symptoms of an erosion of trust in the democratic process. This year's election season in the United States has been marked by unprecedented events. We have witnessed a nearly successful assassination attempt, followed by the belated withdrawal of an incumbent president who had vowed to stay in the race. These and other events have further diminished the citizens' belief in the reality of democracy. Across the Atlantic, in France, the situation is even more dire. The country has been without a functioning government for months, a crisis that threatens the stability of the Fifth Republic. President Macron, who foolishly sought to strengthen his authority, now faces a fatally fractured political landscape where no ruling coalition seems possible. The rise of the far right, coupled with the unexpected resurgence of the left, has thrown French democracy into disarray. In Germany, too, trouble is in the air. The neo-Nazi right, embodied by the AfD, has gained ground, mirroring the rise of ultra-nationalist movements across Europe. These movements, fueled by xenophobia and racism, target immigrant populations, forgetting that the concrete source of the malaise is the legacy of European colonization and the capitalist preference for cheap labor. As democracy grapples with this diversity crisis, the comforting image of "we the people" fades. One might think that the recognition of these historical injustices would lead to efforts to repair the damage, for example, a campaign to make the formerly colonized regions prosperous, and to reform an economic system whose commitment to cold calculation and greed perpetuates and aggravates demographic distortions. But in a society driven by the taste for individual comfort and convenience, the inclination is not to analyze, but to react and simply hope the marketplace will solve all problems and erase all contradictions. Modern democracies, once envisioned as collective endeavors, have devolved into arenas where individual egos dominate, motivated by fear and a focus on personal needs, real and imaginary. Politicians promise convenience and comfort, but rarely deliver on the deeper needs of society. They complain about the threats to democracy, yet fail to see that the system they defend has become visibly dysfunctional. In France and the United States, but elsewhere as well, democracy may soon find itself incapable even of carrying on business as usual. What will rise in its place? Will there be a new kind of democracy? Or maybe a new authoritarian order? Or something entirely different emerging from the chaos of our times? The wars we witness today, senseless and prolonged, are not just symptoms of this collapse, but also accelerators of it. They mark the twilight of a version of democracy that we are told must be defended at the very moment when people have begun to question how it works and even whether it works. But as the shadows lengthen, we must ask ourselves, what are we defending and what will emerge from the ashes? We may even have reason to wonder whether anything at all can emerge. Let us know your thoughts at dialogue@fairobserver.com.
Join the conversation at Fair Observer and subscribe to our YouTube channel.